going, everyone? Taylor Wachowski here, and today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to teach your dog not to bolt out the front door. Now for this session you're going to want some treats. You can have a clicker if you'd like, totally optional. You can have your dog on or off leash. I happen to have a screen behind this door, so a screen door, so I don't necessarily need a leash at this moment, but for safety reasons you may want to have a leash for your dog. Maybe you want a slip leash. This is a little martingale type slip leash. You can use anything you'd like. Your dog's regular collar, a harness if you prefer. Leash is really only there for safety because we don't want our dog to end up, if they do end up getting out, we don't want them just running around willy-nilly. So only for safety reasons. You can choose to have treats, or you can use this as a, when they stay inside, they can use going outside as their real life reward, so it's totally up to you. Now to start off with, I don't even start by opening the door. I'm not going to set my dog up for failure because I know that as soon as I open this door, the dog can, try to go out. They're going to try and get outside because they're used to that. So what we do to start with is I will just touch the handle. Literally just touch the handle, depending on how excitable the dog is or how conditioned they are to being near the door and getting excited about, oh, they know that when you touch the handle we're going out. I may do it just as soft as this. I might do this, and then I'm going to click and reward my dog. Adonis is just chilling in the back here and he doesn't really run out anyway. But just for example, if I'm touching this, I can click, reward the dog. Touching, click, reward the dog. Now the point of this is I'm going to desensitize the dog to me making the precursor of me touching the door to them going outside. So if they see me touching the door, I'm just doing that. Adonis could care less if I'm touching this. If I do this, he gets a little excited, so I'm going to do it again. And he goes back to licking his foot. Good boy. Now this is pressure and this is release. You can think of pressure as in stimulation for your dog. You're getting your dog excitable. You're doing something that might make them become more alert. And this right now, what I'm doing, leaving the door alone, is release. So if I have a dog that is excitable, say they're sitting there, and to begin with, I don't care what my dog is doing. They don't have to be in a sit state, a down state. They don't have to do anything other than, just be in this area and not want to go out the door. The only behavior I'm looking for is for them not trying to head towards this door when I interact with it. So if I need to start by doing this and they don't even move, that's what I want to mark and reward for. If I do this and they get up, then I'll try this a couple more times when they learn, when they get up, they don't get their reward until they're just chilling, then I can click and reward for that. So if I'm doing this for a dog who hears that and they're just barking, they're excited, they want to go outside, that's probably too much pressure, too much stimulation, too much action going on that's going to get them excited. So to prevent that, we start very slow. So we can try touching, click, reward. Try again, click, reward. We want to click and reward when our dog is nice and calm. Again, they can be sitting, laying down, chewing on their foot, going in circles, whatever they want. They could be looking at us, they could be looking at the door. Right now, I really don't necessarily care. If you want eye contact, that would be the perfect time where they're looking at you. You can touch the door, they continue looking at you, you can click and reward for that. Then you can start slowly doing that. Or just rattle the door handle. Rattle, give it a second, click, and reward. We want to make a little noise and then give them a second to see what they're going to do. If they're going to start barking or getting excited or give us eye contact, we want to mark and reward for that behavior. Then we can start twisting a little more. Mark and reward. If I start doing this and the dog were to get up to come towards the door, I say, okay, I'm going to go back to where they last were okay with it, meaning little rattle, give it a second, click and reward. The reason why we want to give it a second between this is if I continue doing this, the dog is going to start to say, okay, I'm patient for a period of time. I haven't been prepared to wait for this kind of distraction, so I'm going to get up. So we want to prevent that from happening, so we just a little bit, ask for little bits at a time. The slow way is the fast way. This might seem totally unnecessary for a lot of people out there, and if it is, if your dog is totally fine, then okay, that's fine. But for a lot of people out there, their dogs may go crazy and ballistic at just that, or locking the door, unlocking the door. So this is what we're doing. We're just starting very slow, where we know that they're going to be able to succeed. Eventually I can start twisting the handle down, lifting up, click, and reward. I'm gonna keep doing that for a little bit. Then I can start doing this, open just a smidgen, close, and then click and reward. I don't want to reward when the door is open like this, because after the reward, they're more likely to go towards the door and say, oh, I'm going out. I mean, that could be okay in some cases for me. I just like to make sure that I close the door before I mark and reward the dog. Just like if I have them in a stay, I don't usually release them from a stay at a distance. I ask them to stay, I walk away, I return to them, then I can mark and reward for that. Because for me, a stay means stay. I don't release you from a distance. I don't call you on a recall. I don't say COME when they're in a stay, because they're, one, being rewarded for breaking the stay, and two, they're being rewarded only for coming to me, not necessarily being reinforced and rewarded for the stay, if that makes sense. So for me, I just like to do this, open, close. That ends this behavior. That ends the dog's patience of waiting. Click, reward. Or you can say yes, good. You can use whichever word you want. You can say pineapple for all I care. Just make it very short and very consistent. Say your dog gets up when you do this. Okay, then you want to go back and make it very simple. Just do this if they stay. Mark, reward. Do this until you can do this in your sleep and your dog is not reacting. By reacting, I mean they get up or they start moving towards the door. If they move towards the door, then you can just lure them back, walk them back away from the door, wait for them to move away from the door, or you can even use your leash to just guide them away from the door. We're not using the leash to correct them. We're not saying no. We're not saying anything. We just move them away. This whole time, training should be silent. So, click, reward. That's pretty much how it should look like. Or, click, reward. Click, reward. That's an example of what your training should look like. Training should look very boring. If your dog's not reacting or doing anything, then that means you're probably doing it right. So say my dog is okay doing this, and then I close. Click, reward. Then I can start opening it slightly more. This slightly more. Again, I want to close, mark, and reward. For me personally, I don't particularly care with my own pets if they give me eye contact. I will look for an ear. He can look at me if he wants. That's fine. At times maybe I do want eye contact, but that's not the number one thing for me. That does not mean that other people should not worry about that. If you want your dog to give you eye contact, that's totally fine. There's nothing negative about it or superior about it. For me, I just know my dog, when he gives me that ear, I know he's listening to me. I'm not going to require him to constantly take his eyes off of whatever he's looking at, to look at me and make eye contact with me. One, he's very short, so it's hard for him to put his head up. Two, it can be kind of, intimidation, or some dogs can be uncomfortable doing that. Of course, you can teach them eye contact is a good thing, but for me, I'm not the biggest worrywart about it. If you want your dog to give you eye contact, by all means, teach them that, hey, eye contact, if you look at me, I know you're focusing on me, we're good to go. Okay, so if you want to do that, then you would preferably get eye contact here. You can keep your eye contact on the dog, open, close. They continue holding eye contact, mark, and reward for that. Then they can break the eye contact, go do whatever they're going to do. So now we're going to practice opening the door a little more. That much more. Now, depending on how quickly your dog will learn or how reinforced your dog is for bolting out the door, this may take a few sessions of 2 or 3 or 5 minutes each, or it may take a few seconds. Okay, it really depends on each person. If we say start opening it like this, that's a pretty good space. Your dog can clearly get their head out. If the screen door is not here, then they can certainly have a draw and a drive to get out there towards whatever is out there. If there's a dog out there, if there's a car out there. So be aware of your surroundings outside of your house. Now, we live in an apartment complex, a little bit different than if you live in a house. You have your front yard in front of you, probably a little bit more distance between you, yourself and the neighbors, or cars in the street, or somebody walking by. So if you didn't have the screen, that's when a good leash is very, very handy. As you see, I have a whole arsenal here of different products, harnesses, leashes, collars. So always having your dog leashed. If you don't have that security there, if you are a little bit worried, you could put up a baby gate or a puppy pen just on the outside of your door. So if your dog does happen to go outside, they're inside that little puppy gate, and you can go and get them and bring them back in. That might be a bit helpful for you. But anytime if your dog does get out, we're not yelling at them, we're not saying no, we're not saying we're not getting mad at them at all. We just call them back in, or we walk them back in. Again, silent training. So say we're working on our dog and we can get them to this point. See, I can open it, I want to close it right away. Mark, reward. Mark, reward. That would be an instance if I'm just working with the dog themselves and I'm not talking to you guys. Otherwise I wouldn't be talking this much if I were really training a dog. So you see how quickly I did that. I have maybe leave it open 1 second, 1 Mississippi, or even half a second before I close it and reward. Then we can have it a little bit open a little longer, for a couple of seconds, even, wide open here for a couple of seconds. Now again, at this stage, I still want to close it before I release the dog from that position. Because say, the door is open and you can click and reward, or you can mark and reward, the dog says, oh great, that behavior is ended, let me just go on out. A lot of times that is the case that happens. So I like to just make sure to close it, click and reward. You can at this point use this as your dog's real life reward. Close the door and say, okay, now we're going to go outside. Because I say it's okay, we're together. You can have a certain word if you want your dog to go through the door. You could say okay, free, a certain word you want, or let's go. And that is their cue that, oh, now I can go through the door. Now after you get your dog to wait while the door is open, you can start standing here and leaving it open for longer periods of time. You can even start moving toward the outside. Now this is going to be an implied stay. You can tell them stay if you want. Certainly nothing wrong with that. Or you can just open the door. When they say they're good with this, they're good for a couple seconds. Take a half step towards the opening of the door. You want to move back, close the door, or at least block it off or something, click and reward. That's how I would do it. Open the door a bit, take a half step, come back, close the door, mark and reward, and end that behavior there. Again, for me it's just safety, making sure my dog waits until this door is closed before they get up and do something. If you don't want to do that, then you can certainly have it open. Take a half step. I say a half step because we want to make it very easy in the beginning, very short, just like that little handle wiggle or just a little bit of room here. If I'm here, I can take my half step in, take my half step back to the dog, click and reward there. And if they want to come sniff, they certainly can. There's a screen here, puppy gate, or they're on leash. So you do whichever you prefer. For me, for safety, this is just what I prefer. So my priorities are a little different. I won't necessarily require eye contact, but I do want to make sure that my dog stays entirely until this door is closed. So everybody has different priorities. Now, over time, you want to be able to open your door, take multiple steps out, or even step outside the door, come back in, reward your dog for that. You can be able to go outside and stand outside, turn your back to your dog. You want to be able to, bend down, dance. You can run out the door. You can practice so many different ways of going out the door, and your dog will not go out until you're in. You reward them, or you give them that certain cue that means, okay, let's go out together. So this is just something to practice with your dog. Eventually, you can even practice on having toys go out the door. I'll make a separate video on that at some point. Teaching your dog to just not go past a certain threshold. This is basically threshold training, that no matter what's going on outside, they don't go outside for safety reasons, and just having really good impulse control for your dog. So I hope this helps anybody out there who may be questioning how to teach your dog to not bolt through the door. This can be a helpful behavior for a lot of other behaviors you're working on, and practice it through multiple different doorways. Whether it's the back door, the front door, the sliding door, other places. It's really good to proof this behavior in a lot of different situations where you go often. So thanks for watching. I appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have questions or certain videos you want to see, feel free to let me know. And until next time, stay positive.